Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to another installment of the Tiernan's Tea Time podcast. I am your host, Tiernan McCarthy Kenny, and we're going to do another lightning round pod for like the fourth time straight because they're too good. They're easy to prepare. We had a whole nother podcast recorded, ready to go, and of course the audio got messed up once again. But this time it was more my fault, not the actual software. It was a really good one-on-one pod with my buddy Jackson Soper. We talked about a bunch of things. It was really good, and of course it got messed up. But that's what happens. I don't know what else to say. Besides, we're gonna have more in person with a different sort of layout coming soon, pretty soon. So that'll be exciting. But to start this lightning round off, we're going to talk about the Julius Randle season-ending injury and basically a season ender for the New York Knicks. He's been out since January with a shoulder dislocation. Was trying to rehabilitate it. Really couldn't do anything about it. And now they're just resorting to surgery, which makes sense. I mean, that's it. That's all you could do, you know. But it was a massive blow to the Knicks. Whether you enjoy his company on your roster or not, if you're a Knicks fan, or if you're a Pelicans fan, Lakers fan, whatever, he's still giving you 24, 5, and 9. And then now you have had and have OG kind of out on top of it. Doesn't look so good. Doesn't really look like they're going to be in contention again. And it's weird because it always feels like there's something. I mean, it kind of seems like the New York teams in general, but really with the Knicks, like there's always something hitting it. Whether it's like a free agent we all were expecting you guys to get, whether it's an injury like this, or just a team that looks better on paper than underperforms, like a lot of the Melo years. Always just something. There's always a roadblock, something that hits you guys or you guys run into. And it kind of sucks. And I actually, not a Knicks fan, obviously. And I probably shouldn't even like the Knicks based on the 90s rivalry with the Bulls, whatever. I mean, it's kind of under the bridge now. But I liked you guys. I really did like you guys. And I thought you actually could be a sneaky team that go to the Eastern Conference Finals at least. And shit, man. I'm upset about it. I really liked, especially with OG there. So, I mean, even with OG out and Randle there, I don't like the chances as much. But it really does seem like you guys are clicking in all ways. And now there's some dialogue about possibly Mikal Bridges bringing up the whole Villanova squad, stuff like that. Which could be super exciting because the DiVincenzo, Hart, and Brunson connection is going well. So we'll see what happens. Pray for the Knicks. We'll see next year. But I kind of feel like this is it. Don't know. Bronny declaring for the draft has been a big thing the past, was a day? I mean, did he say this yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't even know. But been hugely talked about on all platforms. Not really much for debate. I mean, a lot of people we all kind of agree with and it's really the only knock on him, and you're going to see me and hear me reaffirm it right now. And then just for the record, he's also keeping his college availability open, which 100% the move. But the one knock, he's only averaging 4.8 points per game, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists, while he's shooting 36 from the field and 26 from behind the arc. This is not the makings of an NBA guard, especially right now. Somebody to declare to the draft coming out of college when you're a freshman. You still got 3 years there, bud. So it's a little different. And then obviously you can make an argument. There is an argument for the health issues before the year, stuff going on with his heart, and then obviously freshman jitters and stuff like that. But and then obviously the amount of pressure he's had on his shoulders due to being LeBron's son. But he's also had that forever. So I'm making the argument, but I don't totally agree with it. But it's a thing. He's undersized. I mean, he's 6'4", 210. I thought his weight is actually pretty good. He doesn't totally look like a 210. But his weight is pretty good for height to weight ratio, you know, especially going into, if you were to go in the league. there's not a major bump up like that. And he actually gained 20 pounds. So that could also be a thing. Sometimes you gain a certain amount of weight and you just haven't totally gotten used to it yet. You know, you're not as springy, you're not as agile, but you get used to it eventually, but still like totally not getting into it. The other thing too, he just doesn't really have a real shtick with his game. Typically when you watch somebody, especially who's coming up, you're like, oh wow, this person's athleticism, that's gonna get him a ticket. Oh wow, there's this guy's jumper is about to get him a ticket. You know, playmaking, whatever. With him, there's nothing really like that off the rip. Now I'm not gonna act like I've watched every single USC game or every single, obviously like high school basketball game. Like I'm not streaming his games. But I did follow him all the way up to college, pretty much. And obviously besides highlights in college and things like that. But I did follow him until, we were both around the same age. So really, since I was in middle school, I've been, whatever, if it's mixtapes, Instagram, all that different stuff, for a long time now. And the only thing was I thought maybe his jumper would get him somewhere. But now it just doesn't really seem like it's translated that much. I mean, even in high school, he still looked like he had a little bit of something. But when you look at his stats too, like he's never averaging anything crazy. It's kind of like a mediocre stat line for the most part. Like 11 points during his last AAU outing. He averaged 13 points as a senior, and it's like, okay, like I don't know. I mean, it was this whole. That's when it gets into like the nepotism sort of thing. Well, it's not really nepotism to a degree because it's not LeBron. I mean, unless he's making these deals for him, who knows? But it's like when we're seeing Duke visits and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, is that just for show? Because is that just for LeBron? Because he's not really a Duke talent. He's not up there. He's not a UNC. He's not a, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of fits perfectly with the USC. Like, in terms of stats, talent, and stuff like that. So, and then when you look at, too, like the last pick in the draft last year, or you're looking at people in the draft last year, the last pick, Chris Livingston out of Kentucky, 2023 NBA draft. He averaged 6.3 points, 4 rebounds, 0.7 assists, while shooting 42.9% from the field and 30 from 3. So, it's pretty similar to Bronny. A little here and there, better, worse. Obviously, I'm not watching Chris Livingston. I don't know what. I can't compare them both on the court. Might be a thing. Might be a thing with Bronny too. Just watching him. He might be an off the books kind of player where it's like, oh, he does all these little things that his stats don't hold on to. You know, I am not totally confident in that, but there's an argument. Of course, there's an argument. And it's obviously a terrible draft. He's probably hoping, too, he might be getting a bit higher than usual. Who knows? But last year, 2023 NBA draft, the last pick in the NBA, pretty much mapped up to him pretty well. So, I mean, either way, and any other draft, too, you're probably going to be looking at the bottom of the second round. So, there is, though, another angle to look at this, and I've talked about this several times. Does LeBron move to wherever Bronny gets drafted? Now, that, I think, is a fantastic question and a real possibility. I don't think a lot of people are actually entertaining this as much as they should. Laker LeBron is 3-3 with going to the playoffs since 2018 coming to LA, right? Obviously, there's been a year there, didn't have AD. He won a championship in LA. That nobody takes serious. I mean, I don't think I've talked about this a million times, but bubble should not even fucking count, to be honest. You got a whole offseason in between. You played a couple regular season games when you got back in the bubble, and then the playoffs. Any good teams getting out of rhythm, especially when you can't even really like see each other much. Whole thing. Not going to get into it. Made the Western Conference Finals last year, one other time. Got swept. Nobody really had. Everybody obviously makes the argument, oh, they gave him a real good fight. Well, you still got swept. Okay, you got swept. And it's not looking great for them this year, obviously, either. and him and AD have both had great year in terms of longevity and stuff like that. Not missed many games, but if you're looking at the rest of their career, it kind of looks like a ticking time bomb. So you have that, and they've had a bunch of injuries anyway, but altogether, they don't seem super cohesive. They're really streaky night to night, and they're still in the bottom of the West. So the question is, what are you else going to do? You haven't done much here. It's not really looking that great, especially in the Western Conference. You got 10 teams that are real teams that you'd have to get through, and you're the 10th almost out of the first. I mean, you're like, obviously everybody's within a few games. So they're going to be going from the 8th to the 9th to the 7th, the 10th, but they're at the bottom no matter what. So it's not looking that good. You haven't really done much there. Where are we going here? And especially in the last few years of your career here, and all you want is that legacy to match up good, right? You want to match up with Kobe. You want to match up with MJ. So he wants to go somewhere where he can win more championships. I mean, the bottom line, he wants to win more championships. There's not much time left. So he's got to go somewhere where he'll be able to do that. Now, if Bronny is going so low, which he's probably going to, a contending team is most likely going to draft him. So there you go. That's your ticket. And then obviously, he's said a million times he wants to step on the floor with Bronny at the same time. There you go. That's your ticket. Now, the next question is, who spends the amount of money for him? Who spends that amount of capital on him? It really depends on the situation, of course. I mean, you're gonna drop a boatload for a 40-year-old basketball player. Yeah, he's doing great. He's still playing exceptional, especially for his age. But we're still not in uncharted waters. MJ2 at 39 played fantastic, 50-point games, all the rest, averaging over 20 a game, So we aren't there yet, but we're gonna get there, especially on this next deal. I mean, there's obviously a chance he's gonna sign with the Lakers and be like a 2-year extension, reevaluate, or even a 1. But I think if he goes to another team, it's gonna be a little bit longer than that, especially if Bronny's caked in with that. He wants to be next to Bronny. I mean, Sixers, right? They have a second-round picks coming up this year. They have 2 of them, and that's been pretty much the most major what-if destination for them, especially since they're trying to win right now. So, I mean, we'll see. Time will tell, obviously, but I think it's a lot more plausible than people think, and I think you do have to entertain this because this is for real. Bronny's left a million times, right? Several times. Who's to say he doesn't do it again? He gets comfortable. We all get comfortable. He's not going to leave Miami. Oh, he's not going to leave Cleveland. He's not going to leave LA. He leaves. And clock's ticking, He had a lot more time before, and he needs at least 1 or 2 more to really get in that conversation. Diggs to the Texans. This has been the talk of the town in terms of NFL, and I don't know how to feel about it. So, off the cuff, contract only lasts 1 year, so he'll actually be a free agent in 2025. It completely voids his Buffalo extension. They're completely taking a leap on him, hoping he'll enjoy his time with CJ, and then hopefully re-sign, right? Now, my whole angle is like, okay, why would the Bills do this? Obviously, Diggs has been unhappy for a bit. There's kind of like little pop-ups that happen here and there where between him and Josh Allen, whoever on the sidelines, whatever, he's just not having fun. He's saying things or getting little tiffs. Understandable. But he's their main option, 100%. And there's a whole argument on Bill's pod, everybody, that he actually hasn't been playing that exceptionally well that he's talked about for the past few years. Okay. They changed their identity. Now they got James Cook, good running back, who's kind of changed their whole thing. Then obviously Allen can move too out of the pocket, stuff like that. Every Bills game I watched, he's throwing it deep. Obviously, you got Cook, and he's good. And he became one of the top running backs last year, especially. You got that. But he resorts to his arm. Yes, he can move out of the pocket. Yes, Cook, obviously, he's got options. Again, he resorts to his arm. He had Gabe Davis, and he's got Diggs. Those are his two guys. And now they're both gone. So, yeah, I'm not going to be as confident. I'm not saying Diggs is Hill. I'm not saying Diggs is Jefferson. But he's up there. He's in the top guys. He's not a second option. He's a first option, you know? And obviously his morale's down. That could also impact things 100%. And then, too, if he's having tiffs with Allen might not look for him as much 100%. There's so many little avenues here. But let's not discredit him and say he's not as good. He's definitely good. I'd want to have him on my team. And this is why the Texans got him, right? But Diggs and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis was also an integral part there. He's not a first receiver for you guys, but he's a huge one. He's another one. He's a Waddle to a Hill. I think he was big. He's an Addison to a Jefferson. And like I said, he's obviously not a number one option, but paired with Curtis Samuel, who's now their new pickup, who I actually liked. And your new picks, you might have been able to get by. And like I said, I'm actually a Curtis Samuel fan. I mean, he only had a little over 600 yards, 4 TDs, but he had Howell throwing him the ball. He's in Washington. So I think it's not too bad. Gabe Davis actually only had 746 yards, 7 TDs. So it's not too far off if you're then going to see a bump up, obviously, with an Allen throwing you the ball compared to a Howell. So I actually think he'll probably amount to what Gabe Davis did. I mean, it's different in terms of their actual catching ability and things like that. We'll have to see when he get on the field. But I think there actually could be all right. But then that other spot's missing. You don't got any. And obviously, they got new picks now. We'll see. We'll see what they get. But that's a major chunk. And I don't see that offseason as a win. They took a hit. They took a hit with their cap. And they took a hit with now they got a missing spot in terms of their first option. Okay? You can't rely on your running. You can't. That's not going to win you games, especially for them. It's not like you got Derrick Henry back there or Tony Pollard or Saquon Barkley. All right? Cook's great. He had a great year, but that does not mean he's going forward and this is the man now. All right? So let's settle down with that a bit. So we'll see what happens. I think it was a fantastic move for the Texans. Texans are making great moves. Titans made great moves. The Bears are making great moves. And I think these teams are going to start coming out on top. Obviously, the Texans had a great year last year. But now they got Tank coming back. They got Nico. Both two guys who I've said I don't think are number one options, but they played their ass off last year, and especially with CJ throwing them the ball. And then, two, now they got the pressure taken off of them a little bit because they got Diggs in there now. So I think it'll be working out great. I think it'll work out fantastic. They got all those guys, and we'll see what happens. I think they're going to be a fantastic threat next year and probably take over that division, to be honest, for good. Now, Caitlin Clark. Will Clayton... Oh, excuse me. Will Clayton... Oh, my Jesus Christ. I'm butchering her name here. Will Caitlin Clark be a Steph-like impact on women's basketball? So, obviously, there's been a major topic. I mean, she's just been in the conversation forever. Recently... I mean, obviously forever, but recently it's been to a new height because of the tournament and all that stuff, and she's outplaying everybody. Extremely mainstream. But I think it's interesting because we actually might be witnessing history while it's going on, but then also right before it's about to happen, right? We're obviously witnessing one of the greatest women's college basketball players play. But then we also might be pretty aware and are going to be watching women's basketball go to new heights, and because of this player, right? And that I think is pretty rare. I don't think it's a common thing, and it's exciting. Obviously, women's basketball is not very big. There's been a lot of arguments to that, feminist arguments mostly, which are kind of ridiculous. Obviously, it's a viewership thing, but now she's bringing that to more life. Her, Angel Reese, Paige, all these girls, you know, and there are obviously girls in the WNBA that can shoot the rock. There are actually 11 girls last year that were shooting over 40%, but are only shooting 5 attempts a game, 5 plus at the most. I mean, most of them are actually like 2 a game, and Megan 1, you know. But Caitlin sometimes shoots triple that. And still will have around 38 to 40%. During college years, it's been a little bit rocky. Her sophomore year, she had 33%, but from pretty much freshman, junior, senior, it's always been around 37 to 40, while shooting sometimes up to 14 threes a game, which is insane. So it's unbelievable to watch. Obviously, we experienced this with Steph Curry, but now we're going to the other side of women's basketball. And it's not just her shooting ability, similar to Steph. It's also her handle and craftiness that leads to her getting open, which is so alluring. And it's pretty much the female version of Steph. It really is. And I think it will have probably close to the same impact. I'm a little skeptical on getting that much viewership. I don't think it's ever going to be as much as the NBA or up there. But I definitely think it'll increase. Especially her games, at least. I don't know about the total WNBA, but I think it's going to be huge. And no other girls can really move like her. No one in that league can free themselves up like her and pop one from 28 in your face. You know, I feel like when I watch college, or not even college, WNBA or college women's basketball, a lot of them are kind of rigid and don't have that mobility moving around or complete coordination. Some do, but she is just all over the place, right? And I think like I said, I keep saying this. I know. I think it's going to be big. I think she's going to take the league by storm, both with her height, her shot, her handle, and hopefully get the viewership up to a real degree, you know, when they're not just playing whatever it is, I think 40 games or something, you know, half the NBA season. We've seen her impact on this college game. I mean, obviously this year's been, for the women's basketball, is probably, I would say maybe, hopefully, I think the biggest year ever. In my lifetime, at least, or my time of being aware of basketball, I've never, ever, ever heard of the women's tournament being a lot more popular than the men's tournament, ever. It just hasn't been a thing. She's already breaking viewership records and already having games that are going to go down as one of the most popular for the year. So just imagine like what she's going to do with her and Angel Reese going head to head for a chip or something, or like her versus Breanna Stewart. It's gonna be nuts, and I'm really excited for it. It's gonna be special to witness. We're gonna witness history. All right. So would you rather see which matchup for the UFC 305? Strickland versus DDP rematch, or an Adesanya versus DDP? Then the winner of Khamzat and Whitaker obviously fights whoever wins that match for the belt. Well, obviously it depends for whoever beats. I mean, whoever beats DDP, or if DDP wins again with a title defense, then Khamzat or Whitaker will fight them, of course. So I personally feel like Strickland actually deserves it, and I think this is not a very common take. I really do think he deserves it. It was such a close fight. It was a dog fight throughout the entire thing. He barely lost. I don't get it. I don't get why he's not in the conversation. Obviously, I think Adesanya would be just a bigger fight, and I'd be fine with that if that meant Strickland would actually get the winner. But it's being announced, obviously that the winner of Khamzat and Whitaker will fight whoever won the other match, So I don't understand. Like that, I feel like Strickland would just be in the abyss for no reason. Are we forgetting this guy literally just had the belt and barely lost it? He could literally have had a title defense already. It'd be a completely different matchup. So I don't understand the Strickland disrespect. I'd love to see an Adesanya Strickland too. I think that would be huge, especially after Adesanya's performance. I mean, both of their performances, Adesanya kind of crumpling down there, and then exiting pretty quick, not really talking to media or anything like that. It was huge, and I feel like it was a hit on his manhood in a sense. So I don't get it. It's kind of frustrating, and they're just putting him out to the wayside after a major win that not a lot of people could have gotten. Two major wins really against one no, because against Adesanya, but I don't understand. It's not like he's bad at hyping up a fight. It's not like his fights aren't fun. Like, he's one of those dudes that he wants to get punched in the face. He's kind of like Nate Diaz. He wants to get all bloody and bruised, and he wants to go at you with full force and apply pressure. That's his whole style. He can't not let up off the gas pedal. He's on you all times. So I don't understand it. He's super controversial. Everybody always talking about him, whether they like him or not. It's fantastic. It'd be entertaining. I mean, the middleweight division is kind of fun all around, but I don't know, man. I feel like it's just blatant disrespect to this guy. And obviously, any one of those fights would be fun. But Strickland absolutely deserves to be in the mix. Let's not count this guy out. All right? Just thought I'd give you my 2 cents. And then UFC 300, we talked about this plenty, I believe, a few podcasts. But it's coming up. It's next Saturday. I don't really have much else to say. But besides that, I'm getting more and more excited. I mean, Pereira, Oliveira, Gaethje, Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel's really the fight I'm really excited to see, too. Obviously, besides Gaethje and Holloway. And then everybody else is going to be fun. I actually am getting a little more geared up for Hill and Pereira. I think that'll be actually a pretty good matchup. I mean, striker v. striker there, two guys that can take you to Pound Town. So I am actually really excited about that. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole thing again about whether that's really should have been the main event or not for the UFC 300, whatever. Everybody's talked about that death. I've beaten that horse before. Still fun, though. I'm actually really excited for it now, which I was kind of bummed out for a while. But with the hype leading up to the fight, I think it's going to be fantastic. And there's so many good fights that are going to be fun. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. We're going to have a full breakdown. Probably just a solo pod for 300 after that. I mean, we'll see. Unless it's a complete dud, which I doubt it will be. But stay tuned for that. This is the end of the pod. I hope you guys enjoyed another lightning round. We're going to be back at it next week, coming at you. Stay tuned. I'll see you on the other side. Peace.